essay is called Happy Birthday, Sorry You Missed It. It's based on a true story. Shortly after I moved to LA, I received a phone call from my mother. Graham, you have to come back to Minnesota next weekend. Your great aunt Winifred is turning 100, and I'm stuck planning the party. Big fucking deal, I replied. People turn 100 all the time. Anyway, I have plans next weekend. Maud and I are going to see Fantasia from American Idol. Not to mention, Aunt Winifred hates me. That's not true, my mother replied. She doesn't hate you. Yes, she does. She told me so last Christmas at Grandma Mickey's, remember? I reminded my mother about how I was sitting next to my great Aunt Winifred at the dinner table when I asked her if she would like any more green bean casserole. Fuck off! Then she said she hated me. That's only because of her medication, my mother replied. She's not on those pills anymore. I don't care, I said. I still think she's a nasty old bitch. You're terrible, my mother replied. You must get it from your father. I'm just saying, Aunt Winifred is an evil person. Remember when she called Muriel a strumpet? I mean, who even uses that word anymore? Muriel was an older cousin from my mother's side. Last Easter, she announced to the family that she was pregnant with twins. Aunt Winifred spat at her from across the dinner table, then called her a filthy, godless strumpet. Muriel burst into a quivering mass of choking tears, then locked herself in the bathroom. Meanwhile, the rest of us just sort of looked around, confused, because Muriel had been married to a Swedish man named Bjorn for the past 6 years. It wasn't like she got knocked up by some random guy she met at a bar. Afterwards, Aunt Winifred refused to apologize, claiming that even if Muriel wasn't a strumpet, she should have known better than to announce her pregnancy on Easter. How dare she try to steal Jesus' thunder? My mother sighed heavily into the receiver, signaling that she was done having this conversation. Look, I understand that Aunt Winifred can be a bit much, but I'll be damned if I'm stuck with her by myself, she said. If I have to suffer, so do you. Now, the professor will pick you up next Saturday at the airport. We'll see you then. The ensuing Saturday, I met the professor at the Minneapolis airport. Just to clarify, the professor is my father. We call him this because he's an academic, and a very absent-minded one at that. He's always getting sidetracked. He's also very lazy. It makes for quite an unsettling personality. Half the time when he says he'll be somewhere, he has absolutely no intention of actually showing up. The other half of the time, he plain forgets. What the hell are you doing here? I asked when I found him waiting for me by the baggage claim. I'm afraid I have what could potentially be very devastating news, he said as we headed away from the baggage carousel and towards his car, which he had parked outside in front of a fire hydrant. Your great Aunt Winifred passed away early this morning. Are you fucking kidding me? So I could have seen Fantasia after all. There's something poetic about all this, the professor continued. On the eve of her 100th birthday, she embarks on her final journey. Offward she goes to face the great unknown. I guess, but I can't say I'm all that surprised. She looked like a walking corpse after all, and she smelled like one too. So what's going on with the party? Well, instead of a birthday party, there's going to be a funeral, the professor said. He went on to explain that my mother was having the caterer she hired for the birthday party use the food for the funeral reception instead. And as for the birthday cake, the bakery had already written happy birthday on it. So my mother had them add, sorry you missed it. That's morbid, I replied, even for me. That cake cost $75. Times are tough. We couldn't just let it go to waste. How'd she die anyway? I asked as we neared the professor's rusted-out Volkswagen. A parking ticket was tucked underneath the front windshield wiper, but my father didn't seem to notice it. She went peacefully in her sleep, he replied. Then she crapped her pants. Are you serious? Unless she crapped her pants and then she died, I guess we'll never know. That really happens, the whole crapping your pants thing? The professor shrugged. It did to your great Aunt Winifred. We climbed into the car. She is so When I die, I'm going to make sure to get a colonic beforehand. I will leave this world with dignity, damn it. The professor turned the keys in the ignition and pulled out onto the street, nearly sideswiping a shuttle van and causing the parking ticket tucked under the windshield wiper to blow away. As I watched the tiny piece of paper be carried off by the breeze, I thought about my great Aunt Winifred, how she too had been swept away so suddenly, and how, like a lost parking ticket, nobody would miss her.